Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Stuck on Interstate 95 in sub-freezing cold for more than 27 hours. That's the nightmare scenarios travelers face during an unprecedented shutdown of one of the nation's busiest highways.
A U.S. senator was among those trapped in their cars in the massive traffic jam that spanned dozens of miles. And now another storm bringing more treacherous weather is on the way. Charlene Aaron brings us the details.
Interstate 95 in Northern Virginia is moving again. The highway finally reopening last night after a 50-mile traffic jam that froze hundreds of cars in place over 2 days. Just as the region is recovering from Monday's winter storm, more bad weather is on the way, complete with possible freezing rain along that same section of I-95. It was a nightmare on one of the nation's busiest highways as snow and ice caused I-95 to shut down, trapping drivers in sub-freezing temperatures for more than 27 hours.
Vehicles starting to run out of gas. Food, water is an issue for some of these people.
It started with multiple tractor trailers jackknifing near Fredericksburg, Virginia, as temperatures dropped below freezing, made worse by heavy snowfall.
Our cell phones don't work. Internet goes in and out, so we've just been sitting here.
Been in this spot for 7 hours, almost 8 hours.
Some drivers taking to social media, worrying about a lack of gas, food, and water.
I'm just more worried that I'm going to run out of gas, because when I run out of gas, then I run out of warmth and phone battery.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine was stuck in his car for 27 hours after starting his normally 2-hour commute to the Capitol.
I had a heavy coat, and I also had a full tank of gas. And the problem is a lot of people, when you're stuck that long between, 5 miles from an interchange and the traffic isn't moving, folks are running out of gas.
The Virginia Department of Transportation calling the situation unprecedented.
We were not able to pre-treat our roadways before, and this is due to the rain. The rain would have washed all of our chemicals and salt off the road.
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam defending the state's handling of the chaos, saying there was difficulty getting workers and equipment through the snow and ice. Meanwhile, forecasters warn more freezing rain for that same area Wednesday, and another storm is expected to bring snow from Virginia to Maine later this week. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Well, I've lived in states that have a lot of snow, and the drivers know how to deal with it, and the states know how to deal with it, and the snow plows are always running and trying to keep the roadways clear, and people know what to do in case of an accident. Unfortunately, in Virginia, snow seems to be so rare that my general advice to all Virginians, if it's snowing outside, stay home, because there are people out there that really don't know how to drive in the snow. And then if there is some kind of pileup like this, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. All that said, 23 hours? Are you kidding me? You can't get a tractor trailer snarl up, taken care of in that kind of time frame. It shouldn't take that much time. You come in on one of the other exits ahead of that wreck, and you try to clear it as soon as you can. If you can't get to it, you get the snowplows out and working. Now, is this a case of you didn't have enough employees, or were people out with COVID, all those other things? It just seems to be the new normal of the whole nation, where crazy things are happening, crazy weather is happening, and then we seem to be very hampered in our response. Well, in other news, Senate Democrats are attempting to weaken the filibuster, and they're facing pushback from both sides of the aisle. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That is right, Gordon. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is threatening to change the rules for the filibuster to pass nationwide Democrat-backed election reforms. The effort has been stalled for months in the evenly divided Senate, lacking the 60 votes needed to overcome a Republican filibuster. On Tuesday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell called plans to scrap the procedural rule a radical move that threatens to break the Senate.
Based on what the Majority Leader said, he's going to try to break the Senate, break the legislative filibuster, to make some kind of narrow exception. There is no such thing as a narrow exception. This, in my view, is genuine radicalism.
Schumer needs all 50 Democrats to vote in favor to make the change. West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin has signaled that he might not be on board if there's no bipartisan support. Senator Manchin was the one who put the brakes on President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar social spending bill before Christmas, and one poll shows 61% of West Virginians support his stand. CBN contributor Chuck Holton traveled to the Mountain State to hear what some of them had to say.
Democrats still hope to pass some form of Joe Biden's signature Build Back Better program after lone Democrat Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia basically doomed it.
I'm not going to negotiate in public on this because I've been dealing in good faith, and I will continue to deal in good faith with all of my colleagues on both sides. It's time to pass the bill and quit playing games.
West Virginia voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in the last election, so it's no surprise that people in small towns like this across the state are applauding Manchin's no vote on the Build Back Better program. But it also shows that Manchin himself would like to keep his job.
Don't you have to love anyone who's a gadfly and a thorn in the side of the Washington establishment? But the fact that federal government has never shown itself to be able to do the things that it needs to do efficiently, and someone to put their hand up and say, wait a minute, let's take our time with this, and you know how frustrated it makes them and how it makes them gnash their teeth, because unfortunately they're more about their reelection than they are about actually helping people, is something to, it's really a thing of beauty.
I have very mixed feelings. I think that there's a role for the government involved in infrastructure repair that's very, very important and needed. I think the Senate Democrats are opposed to independent thinking, and I believe that's what Senator Manchin's done. I'm not always in agreement with him. This time I am.
The fact that Manchin is increasingly at odds with his party has many West Virginians wondering why he doesn't just become a Republican.
My grandfather was a Democrat. My father was a Democrat. It's only natural that I would become a Democrat, and I was for a lot of years, but I figured the only way to be a good Democrat was to become a Republican, because the Republicans are where the Democrats was 40 years ago.
From Southern West Virginia, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Thanks, Chuck. Turning now to Israel, where an 11-year-old girl recently made a significant archaeological find. The discovery sheds new light on what life was like in Jerusalem some 2,000 years ago. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reports.
In the Emek Zurim Park, visitors can sift through debris from the ongoing excavation in the city of David. That's where Liel Krudakop found a rare silver coin from the time of the Second Temple.
It feels something not normal. And go to their archaeologist, was there, and he cleaned it a little bit, and then he told me, and for my family, that's a silver coin.
At first, Liel's father thought they should throw it away.
Actually, it didn't look like a coin, so I was thinking to myself, this is some kind of stone, and actually I told to the girls put it in the garbage can, but they insisted that this is a coin, and they took the coin to the archaeologist that was on the site, and he confirmed that this is indeed a coin.
I was very excited, and it's like some happy feel because somebody touched it before 2,000 years, and right now I'm touched it.
This is a very rare find. Together with this silver coin, we know from the archaeological documentation only 30 other silver coins from the rebellion.
The coin has 2 Hebrew inscriptions.
We can see here the words in ancient Hebrew, Shekel Israel, and a second line with 2 Hebrew letters, Shin Bet, which means the second year of the rebellion against the Romans, 67-8 AD. On the other side of the coin, we have another inscription in ancient Hebrew, which says, LeYerushalayim HaKdosha, to Holy Jerusalem.
Archaeologists believe the high priest in the temple wanted the coin to help pay for the revolt against the Romans.
Coins were minted in order to emphasize independence of certain communities. So the Jews that rebelled against the Romans wanted to emphasize that they are independent.
The Hebrew wording on the coin harkens back to the First Temple for a reason.
to the time of King David and his son King Solomon. The Jews wanted to emphasize their connection to the great kingdom of Israel led by King David. They missed it. They wanted their kingdom to be as large as King David's kingdom.
The coin came from a layer of debris dating to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD.
I'm standing on the remains of the ancient pilgrimage road that led Jews from all over the world to the temple itself. When the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and the street itself, all the structures that stood on both sides of this street collapsed into one pile.
To Levy, the discovery is like traveling back in time.
To hold this silver coin is like going back 2,000 years ago and actually touching the common, the daily life of the people that lived in Jerusalem.
Liel's mother sees it as more proof of Jewish life in Jerusalem.
It tells a lot about the history, about the people that lived here, about everything, about the history of this place, of Jerusalem, and the meaning of this place to us, to the Israelis, to the Jewish people. So yes, it means a lot.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Time travel with the help of an 11-year-old girl. And Gordon, thank goodness they resisted the urge to throw it away.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. Here's a coin from 68 AD, 2 years before the destruction of the temple, and they're crying out for the restoration of the kingdom. In our lifetime, something amazing happened. Actually, it's not in my lifetime. It was 10 years before I was born. But back in 1948, can a nation be born in a day? And Israel was born in a day. The restoration of the kingdom. And now we pray for the restoration of the king. Can we believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah? That would be wonderful to see.